Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life with Sterling Fox on AM 650.
Welcome back. We're talking boating on Boomer Life on this episode of the program with two members of the board of directors of Boating BC. Alan Stovell and Brendan Keys are with us. Mr. Stovell is the managing partner with Western Marine Company, and Mr. Keys is the marine sales manager down there at GA Checkpoint. And guys, and Brendan, we'll pick it right up where you left off moments ago. We were talking about the whole matter of boating as a pleasurable pastime, and one of the reasons not everybody in British Columbia is a boater is because a lot of us think that it's beyond our ability to afford. Boating is a rich man's pleasure. And Brendan, you disagree, and you get young people with little kids coming into your store at GA Checkpoint all the time looking for starter. Get us out on the water. We're dying to get going. And for $1,500, off they go.
And that's basically, that's the small side of it. I mean, for people who just want to get out and do some coastal boating and small lakes fishing. Of course, you know, for people to go boating, there's always kind of some activities to go along with that. You could be fishing on some of the smaller lakes, or you could be a water sports family.
Sure.
And pretty much you can spend as little as you want, but we see a really large growing segment of the business right now is the pontoon business. And the neat thing about that is you're talking, a pontoon boat where you can get maybe a couple of families on there, and you can get a lot of people on board.
And these aren't the houseboats that we see up in the Shuswap. Those are pontoon boats. But they're purpose built. They're like RVs on the water.
Correct.
Whereas a pontoon boat, this is a new phenomenon, especially in cottage country, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's growing. It's a really large growing segment right now because, of course, it started primarily with the cottage side of it, but we have lots of customers that are buying them as their own personal piece of waterfront. They can get out on the water. You can have two families or large 10 and 12 people on board. And, you can water ski behind them. You can tube behind them. They definitely have kind of come a long way from where they started many years ago. Financing is quite easy on some of this product. That's a neat thing with some of the banks right now. They give larger terms on financing small boats. So you can amortize that over like 20 years. So that makes it very affordable for people to be able to get into boating and not have to, that initial investment.
Alan, is there a point, though, at which in terms of the life of the would-be boater that it becomes almost redundant? In other words, is it ever too late to get started?
No, never too late.
This is Boomer Life. A lot of people are listening. We're at the end of our working careers. We got a few dollars.
Yeah.
Would like to maybe spend some of that on fun things. We've been working our tails off forever and a day.
That's right.
Now it's time to have a few laughs. Thank you.
No, it's never too late. And there's a nice physical aspect to being on the water too if you choose to do it that way. Kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding. I see lots of people who I would call boomers that are. I see them on the ferry traveling back and forth to the island with 2 kayaks on the roof, and they've been off on the west coast, or they're heading up to the interior or something, and they've clearly got into it later on. And some of those people may actually have been moved from bigger boats down to the kayaks and paddleboards. But that's an easy way to get into the business, or not into the business. I'm sorry, but into the lifestyle. It's just so spectacular. The geography we have here is fantastic. Yesterday morning, I was sitting up at Center Bay on Gambier Island. So Gambier Island is just north of Bowen, those who have trouble visualizing where it is. It's an island with 3 or 4 very deep bays in it.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there on my boat looking south, out down the bay and out towards Bowen Island, and the ferries are going by. The Langdale ferry is going by. The Nanaimo ferry is going by. It's flat calm out there. And I'm out with 2 friends on my paddleboard and out for an hour having a great paddle and a nice little workout and on calm water. And it's so unthreatening and so easy to do. And the investment to get into that can be very low, and that a lot of the paddleboards are inflatable. So if you're an apartment dweller, a townhouse dweller, and you have a little storage space, you let the air out of them and roll them up, put them in the back of your car, put them in a storage locker. It's just real easy.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I suppose, when we think of getting into boating in that sort of classic phrase, we're thinking of automatically something 35 feet long that you have to tie up at Cole Harbor, and it's a big deal. And we forget that a kayak is a boat.
That's right.
And if you got a kayak, hey, you're a boater.
That's
just like the guy with the 35-footer.
That's right. And that gets a lot of people on the water when they're young. They get into a kayak, they get into a paddleboard or whatever. And the next thing you know, they're into a small sailboat or they're taking sailing lessons.
Right.
The other thing with boating is, that it's important to get some basic training, but there are so many opportunities to do that. You can do an online course. and get your operator certificate. But there are sailing schools and training facilities and clubs that offer training. So, those are important things to do, but there are a vast number of opportunities to get that education.
Right. Let me stop you, though, and back you up just a half a sentence there, because this is a part of what Boating BC does,
right.
Is the education component for British Columbians. And one thing that all British Columbians, in fact, all Canadians are now required to do if we want to operate a motorboat of any kind,
that's right,
is we need an operator's certificate, which is properly referred to as...
It's a certificate of operator competency, but I think that's what they call it.
Okay,
so,
and it's a boating license.
That's right.
It?
Yep.
And so even if you're a 12-year-old kid with that little 10-foot aluminum boat, Brendan, you got to have one of those,
don't you? Got to have one of them. And it's a great program to kind of basically, I have 3 daughters, and we've put them all through the course. Of course, yes, you can go online and do it. It's probably not a bad idea. There's, I think, some local classes that you can put them into for 4 hours where they can kind of learn the basics, and you want them to learn the basics of understanding what the safety factor of you operating a boat. So nothing too major to get kids. You should get all your kids kind of trained so that they can operate a boat safely.
Yeah, Alan, you have one of your company operates in Ontario, north of Toronto. I'm going to spend some time there in a couple of weeks. And last summer I was back in cottage country north of Toronto, up in Muskoka, and I was surprised at the OPP, the police, provincial police vehicles or boats, on the water. Checking for operators. Got your license. They want to see your flotation devices for everyone on board. They're checking for booze, and they're checking for the license of the person operating the boat. And if the person operating the boat didn't have one, the boat was tied up, and that was the end of that outing.
You got to have the license, and you also have to have it with you, which is one of the things some people forget. You need to have it with you. It's not good enough that you're not to tell the officer you've got it. You've got to have it with you. And they're also checking for basic safety equipment, and just trying to make things safer on the water, prevent accidents. I mean, that's really, to the long-term health of the industry, it needs to be a safe activity. So when people get their basic training, then we know that there are a reduced number of accidents. One of the best places to get it is actually through the Canadian Power and Sail Squadron, because they will put you through a much more in-depth course and give you a lot more knowledge, particularly if you're going to be operating a little bit larger boat. But you will get your operator competency certificate as a part of your Canadian Power and Sail Squadron basic course.
And more information, by the way, about getting your operator's certificate is available at boatingbc.ca.
That's correct.
You have that on the website.
Yeah, it really is a great information portal for anybody interested in boating at any level.
So just to the education component that you both alluded to now, if someone says, I've always wanted to be a boater, and now I'm at that point in my life where I could actually be one. If I wanted, I got a few dollars, I got a little bit of time, but I don't know the first thing about it, and I don't swim.
Right.
So am I now officially out of the game?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Swimming is an important thing for people to be able to do, but the variety and comfort available now in personal flotation devices, which everybody should use, are such that it's really not a problem. I mean, when I started sailing and I was 11 or 12 years old, they used to give us these giant foam and K-Pock things, keyhole jackets
they were called life preservers.
Life preservers.
And they were
horrible.
Hot.
Yeah.
They were really hot.
Not only that, we had to demonstrate that we could swim a certain distance in it. So the first day they'd throw you in the water with this thing on, and you had to sort of somehow swim,
flail around.
That's just not
alive.
the case anymore. You can wear a personal flotation device all day long, and after a while you hardly know you've got it on.
That's
so there's
true.
really no excuse for everybody not wearing those. And in a small boat, you really do need to have those, and not only have them but wear them.
And Brendan, here in British Columbia, we have the luxury of both types of boating. We have all of those fantastic hundreds, if not thousands, of lakes between here and the Yukon border. Yeah. And we have the beautiful Pacific Ocean. Talk about the best of all possible worlds.
We are so fortunate here in BC. I'm a lake boater myself. I'm probably don't spend a lot of time on the salt side. We have my family have property up in the Caribou country.
Okay, sure.
And we'll spend. I have 3 daughters, and for us to getting away to the cabin and spending 3 days of boating, we're pontoon boaters.
Okay.
We enjoy getting friends and families on the lake and getting out there and cruising the day up and down. in freshwater because we like that the ability to be able to jump in, swim, and climb back out again, and do our skiing and tubing. We take that pretty serious, so, like most do. We're and of course very competitive, all of us. So.
Nothing like a serious tuber.
Yeah, I know. How long you can stay on, I might add.
But I absolutely get your love of fresh water. And Alan, when I first moved out to British Columbia in the early 70s, I have a friend who had a 26-foot sailboat. That's how I learned to sail.
Right.
I was a crew guy. Two of us, he drafted us and we crewed and he raced and we got to be pretty good. I have to tell you though, as a freshwater kid from inland, I was terrified of the ocean. It was so big, and there were creatures in there that could eat you. And really, unless you grew up with it, you took sailing lessons when your mom got you going there at 11. So if you grow up next door to it, it's no big deal.
No, I had never had any fear of it at all, but lots of people do.
When you move to it, it's something Brendan and I have had to adjust to.
I love the fresh.
Still a little leery of the salt.
I do enjoy, some boating on that. Our dealership is located at the end of Burrard Inlet.
Of course.
So of course, there's nothing better than we do a lot of evening cruises up the inlet, or if we want to for afternoon, we'll kind of get all the staff on board and we'll kind of maybe cruise into Granville Island because it's a nice little jaunt. A couple of hours and you can be down the end of the inlet.
Right.
So let's we do like our. That's the neat thing about BC is. Boating in BC is that it's so many different things from saltwater to freshwater, but I probably would lean myself a little bit more to the freshwater.
Well, I'm the opposite.
Exactly.
I'm in the saltwater all the time.
Right.
And I years ago when I met my now wife of nearly 40 years, she was not a boater at all. She was a very good swimmer, but I introduced her to boating. And was
she a reluctant?
No, not really. But I remember one time we were out sailing on my dad's boat, with permission or without, I forget, and sitting anchored off English Bay, off West Vancouver, and we were rafted to another boat. In other words, two boats at anchor tied together.
Right.
And my wife was stepping from one boat to another, and she did the classic: the two boats drifted apart, one foot on each boat, and down she went. Down she went. The boats came back together, and she popped up smiling, and I knew right then this is a girl I could marry. So.
Oh, okay.
To this day, she's a great sailor and a really great supporter of our boating activity as a family. So.
Well, and here's another thing. Both of you have talked with glowing faces, as you do, about the time you spend, you, Brendan, with your three girls, and Alan, you with your wife and friends. It's the family aspect. This is an activity that every member of the family, regardless of age, can absolutely enjoy to the max.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And there's memories. People, you talk to people who've been on the water, and they usually when you're on the water, that's all they talk about. We don't really talk about politics. We don't talk about anything else. We just talk about being on the water, what we did yesterday, what we're going to do tomorrow. And you talk to people socially who are on the water, and that what they really want to talk about is what they did on the boat or what they're going to do on the boat, even when they're not on the water.
Right.
It's just the top of mind for everybody. So,
Brendan, are you a fisherman?
I do. As much time as I can. I'm not a very good one, I might add. But I do, of course, that's kind of the neat thing. I guess they call it fishing and not catching because I do spend my fair time out there.
Well, you see, you and I are pretty much alike in that regard. For me, I've reconciled myself to the joy is in the fishing. Anything you catch is sheer gravy and bonus. It's the fishing. It's the activity that I get.
It's an excuse to go boating.
Absolutely. Now, of course, you wouldn't mind, I suppose, getting out onto the salt water to enjoy the current salmon run now, would you?
Man, right. We yesterday had a customer in that kind of was just... There's a bunch of them that have been spending a lot of time in the river right now and are pretty pumped and excited about kind of what we're seeing right now. And it's a good reason to get everybody out in the river. We're seeing a whole bunch of people coming in right now, kind of trying to pick up some 14-foot aluminums and 25 horsepowers to do the river run. So it's exciting. We're fortunate this year. We have a really good run, and of course, everybody looks forward to a little bit of piece of fresh salmon. So. And so it's pretty exciting to see that run this year, and it's very, very positive for the business.
And Alan, you see people, and seriously, you see people with sailboats out there bobbing around in the chuck, and they're fishing off the back of the sailboat. Doesn't matter at all. If there's a run going on, there's a rod on the boat, and it's in the water.
But it's not just the run. I mean, even this time of the year, actually all year round here, a lot of people are crabbing and prawning.
True, right.
So
yeah.
this weekend and last weekend, I spent quite a bit of time. I'm what I call a poacher. So I hang around with a lot of guys that fish for crab and prawns. I don't actually have the gear myself, but I partake and I drink.
We'll have to coordinate something. I'm a scuba diver. I do that underwater night prawn diving stuff. Now that's good fun, and the eating is spectacular.
Yeah, I was eating fresh crab and prawns all weekend.
Boy.
And there's a bounty of it out there. Fresh crab, it's just easy to get. Prawning is a little harder, but you just got to find the right hole and have the right gear. But it's not expensive to get into, and you can nearly sustain yourself. I mean, there doesn't have to be a salmon run for you to take bounty from the ocean.
Right. I want to talk with Brendan a little bit more about inflatables when we come back after the break. But just before we go, Alan, one of the things that you pointed out was the difference, because you've been a sailor now. You've been boating in Vancouver waters for over 40 years.
Right.
And you were talking about how things have changed, because back in the day when you first started out, most boats would pull a little dinghy.
That's right.
And now that's changing. It's evolving.
That's right. And two things there. The advent of the advance in technology and inflatable boats has changed, so people have much more sophisticated inflatables that they carry.
Right.
But the other thing is kayaks and paddleboards, which 20 years ago you didn't see anybody with that kind of thing, and nowadays you see a lot of boats out there, power boats and sailboats, towing a little dinghy, but they'll also have a couple of paddleboards or a paddleboard and a kayak. And so they're out there, they go and anchor or tie up at a marina, but the next thing you know, those small boats are in the water and they're out doing other activities. So it's enhanced the boating activity because it becomes a multifaceted thing now.
Right. So you drive the boat to one place, and then you do a different kind of boating when you get there.
And the nice thing about a kayak is that when you're in a kayak, you're so close to the water. I mean, you're right there, and you can paddle a kayak right inshore. You can sit in a kayak in 6 inches of water.
Sure.
And so there's all kinds of life there, and the water is often very, very clear. In most parts of the Gulf Islands and up north, and it just adds another whole dimension to what you're doing.
Okay, go very quick question just before we go to break. To both of you, have either of you a story to tell about a personal moment on the water in which you had a very, very close encounter with a whale?
Yes.
Both of you.
Both, yeah.
Brendan, you first.
Actually, mine was up in Bella Bella. When I worked for Yamaha, we looked after all the fishing lodges up there.
Sure, plenty of them up there.
Exactly. Most people get up there to kind of spend a couple of days doing some fishing.
That's where the trophy fish are.
That is for some big stuff. And we were out one morning doing a test on an outboard, and it was foggy, and the fog was just lifting, and we're out in a 17-foot boat, and a pod of whales went by. I mean, they breached. I'm not 10 feet from the boat.
Oh boy!
And if you want to see two grown men cry, that was the one moment where it was just so overwhelming for the size of this whale, and to pop it out right beside us. I guess we're getting a little close. We didn't see them there, but there were some calves in there, and we got a little close, and they were just letting us know that you need to stand back a little bit.
Okay, just pushing, warning you
away.
Warning.
We hadn't seen them
in the gentlest of ways.
Yes, and we were very fortunate to be able to get that close, and
no kidding.
Had no idea they were there. They just appeared beside the boat, and it was just it was pretty unbelievable. It's one of those things that it was 15 years ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday.
I'll bet it's
pretty cool.
Really? Cool. How about you, Alan?
Well, two quick ones. One was my youngest son Christopher was actually water skiing with a group of friends off the shore in Tsawwassen, and he finished his ski or his wakeboard or whatever he was doing, and he was swimming back to the boat, and all of a sudden there was a seal popped up right beside him.
Okay.
He thought, I'm not so sure I like that, so he wondered why that seal was there. Anyway, he climbed back on the boat, and no sooner did he have his second foot back on the boat than a killer whale popped up on the other side of the boat. So it was right there, and of course the seal didn't like the killer whale, and so that's why it was panicking, so to speak, and the whale popped up right there, so that was a little closer than he liked. But a couple of years ago, my wife was coming to join me she was coming across on the ferry from Tsawwassen to join me in the Gulf Islands, and I borrowed a friend's powerboat and went to pick her up at Sturdy's Bay on Galliano Island.
Sure, yeah.
So we came back through Active Pass in this 20-foot powerboat, and I had to stop. I actually had to stop at the Gulf Island side of Active Pass and wait for about 15 minutes as a huge pod went by in front of me. And there are rules about there, and you don't want to get too close to them these days. There are rules about keeping your distance.
Of course, yeah.
So I basically just stopped, and we were treated to a spectacular. There had to be 10 of them at least, and they just slowly swam by at the entrance to Active Pass, and probably fishing for salmon at that point in time.
Wow.
But that was pretty spectacular.
Great stories. The closest I can come to that is in Active Pass, as a matter of fact, on a BC ferry, right? And the captain comes on the speaker and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like, off to the port side of the boat, there's a pod of killer whales.
Right.
And, of course, the whole boat goes,
Yeah, that's right.
500 people are all of a sudden on one side of the boat. And
Yeah, BC Ferries captains are really good about doing
they
that.
were
They're very, very good.
fabulous.
Yeah,
And
they're great.
everybody in the cameras, and it was wonderful
Yeah,
stuff.
they know everybody loves it, and they never miss an opportunity to get everybody to so people on board don't miss it because it's easy to miss.
I'm just glad the boat didn't fall over.
Exactly.
Our guests are Alan Stovell and Brendan Keys, members of the board of directors of Boating BC. This is Boomer Life on AM 650, and we're back with lots more right after this.
It's all about the baby boomer lifestyle. Boomer Life on AM 650.